Aprenderás sobre la excitante industria de ingresos recurrentes con software, historias de fundadores de empresas de software, tips de internet marketing y recomendaciones de apps para crecer tu negocio. Soy Jorge Díaz y te doy la bienvenida al podcast de Software Como Servicio. Este podcast está patrocinado por De Cero a MVP. En este curso en línea te mostraré cómo vender por internet tu producto, servicio, app o curso en línea. Si quieres vender por internet, necesitas validar tu idea de negocios antes de invertir años de tu tiempo y miles de dólares en tu idea de negocio. Deja que tus clientes voten con su cartera y prevende antes de crear tu negocio. Entra en Recursos Software Como Servicio.com para aprender más. Welcome to the Software Como Servicio Podcast, and I have Akeel. Akeel is the podcast host of SaaS District and investment director of Horizen Capital. They acquire and operate a portfolio of SaaS companies. Welcome to the podcast, Akeel.
Thank you, Jorge. Glad to be here today.
Thank you for being here. And my first question is, what is your job or your story? Like, what do you do?
Sure. Yeah, so my background is I'm actually a former petroleum engineer turned entrepreneur. I always knew, even when I was working in the corporate world, that I'd be building my own company one day. Even while I was working, I was always building companies. Even when I was in university, I started my own recruitment company. So that entrepreneur drive was always in me, since I was a teenager. I always loved the investment space and learning how to best deploy capital and be as efficient as possible. So I started investing in the stock market when I think I was 18 years old and I can open up my first account. But then I realized you just didn't have as much control. And then, in terms of the business at the stage of where it's at, if something happens in the economy and the company drops, you couldn't do anything to control and grow the company. And you were competing with Wall Street with guys who study the market better than I could. So then I started getting into the real estate industry. I bought a few real estate rental properties in Canada, which I still have. But I realized, real estate is great, but it's more of a long-term investment. I look at it as more, maybe a 20-year trajectory if you're looking to do that kind of investment. So, I was still young in my 20s and I wanted to, move a little quicker. So I bought a actual physical business. So I bought a gym franchise in Canada, which we still operate. Which is nice, having a physical business, it generates a revenue and good profits. But the issue is you're kind of limited on how fast you can scale it, right? You're limited to your geographic region of where you can sell, and to build future or more gyms, you have to expend a lot of capital to grow. So while I was working as an engineer, I started learning more about digital businesses. Such as like content, advertising sites, e-commerce, SaaS companies, product as service. And that's where I bought my first online website at the time. I think it was for about, $50,000 at the time. So that's where I got to learn, after hours, in between, work and after work, I was learning how to grow that business. And then over time, over the couple of years, I kind of moved away from being an engineer and dove in full time to work on my online projects. I met a company. Actually, the founder was based in Mexico at the time. He was in Valle de Bravo, a company called Wired Investors, and they were doing the same thing as what I was doing. I was doing on the smaller side of the size of the companies. They were doing this for $1 million, $2 million websites, and I thought I'd get involved in. So I joined them at that time. That was back in 2016. Worked with them, helped them raise some capital, operated some of their companies, such as $99 Social. And we actually helped double that company within 5 months of that acquisition, and moved out to grow other companies, moved to their portfolio manager, where I work closely with the CEOs to help them grow. And then eventually last year in 2000, late 2018, 19, we started Horizen Capital. So I spun off and really focused on the SaaS space, and that's where we are today. Is where we built Horizen to where it is today, and we're actively doing acquisitions of SaaS companies.
Great. And what was the first website you acquired, like for 50K?
Oh, I can't remember the name, but it was a content website. It was monetized through ads and affiliates. I think it was a very niche website. Looking back now, I sold it to me and my partner bought it, and I sold it to him. So I can't remember the name right now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And why buy on like focus on SaaS companies, and why buy software como servicio companies?
Yeah, instead of other kind of business models. So when I was at Wired, we worked mostly on content, productized services, so content publisher websites, and then productized service, and then I moved into SaaS. I've also had an e-commerce business in the past, so I got to explore and play with different business models, and I just found that I really love SaaS, and that's why I decided to focus on that specifically. I think it's interesting that it combines, technology. You get to use all kind of business skills, your marketing. You get to use sales and manage teams. I just don't get the joy of selling a physical product. Say, hey, let's sell pens, buy it for $1 and sell it for $2. I don't know. It's not very interesting to me. Number two, I think SaaS is it's a scalable market. Your whole world is your market to sell to. Like I mentioned, the gym, you can only sell to kind of your neighborhood, right? Most of your customers are within a 5-kilometer radius. With here, I can pick up the phone and then call somebody in Colombia, or I can call somebody in the US, and we can have a deal and start selling our product, right? I also find it a lot less risky. If you build a solid product that's defensible, I think you have an IP, an intellectual property behind it. So it's actually a lot less risk for somebody to come in and copy you. There's also a higher appetite and growth opportunity in the space right now. Investors have been and are still are super interested in the SaaS. So a lot of the investors we work with are actively deploying a lot of capital. The valuations are going up. The hunger for these type of businesses are going up. And then finally, it's a space we've developed to operate and become experts in. So that's what we do. We know we're experts in that. We apply our expertise to come in and grow the business. So we just decided to focus on what we're good at and just double down on that.
Yes, I first saw you in Deal or Bust, and Latinamerican what is a program, a YouTube program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw you like buying companies or seeing if you could buy them, and then I reached you, and we are here.
Yeah, it's cool. I actually have I'm actually back on his show later today in about 2 hours, so it'll be cool. Yeah, it's a cool show. You guys should check it out.
Yes, it's interesting. It's like a Shark Tank for
Exactly.
SaaS companies.
Exactly.
So, and what do you think about Latin America and the startup, the Latin America startup and SaaS landscape, like for you that you are looking to buy SaaS companies? So how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, so we did one acquisition so far in Brazil. We did that back in, I think, late 2018. And I know many founders from the US and Canada who are coming here to Mexico and other areas of Latin America, and they're building their tech teams here in Latin America. So I think there's a lot of hot tech startups that I've come across. I go to conferences like in Sao Paulo, and there's a lot of ambitious founders that are building really, really great businesses. They're growing. They're super ambitious, and they're profitable, and I think there's lots of opportunities from an investor perspective, and there's also like the talent perspective. But I would say the three main reasons why I like Latin America versus some other areas, like our focus is in North America and a little bit in Europe as well. Number one is there's massive micro opportunities everywhere. I think everywhere you go, they just haven't been capitalized upon to build a solution for. So I'm very bullish of the space, and I think there's gonna be a lot of growth in the next few years. Number two, I think there's a great talent pool of developers. You have engineers that you can hire and work with to build your product or grow your company at a super affordable price compared to the USA. So I think some people say it's almost a tenth of the cost of if you're going to the Valley. So that helps you grow a little quicker. And three, I think we're still in the early stages. I think there's less competition. There's still a lot of problems to be solved all around us here. And there's still space for somebody to come in and to be the market leader. There isn't a lot of opportunities that have been businesses that have taken over the market in some areas.
Yeah, exactly. And there are other kind of opportunities like here in Mexico we use a lot of WhatsApp. So a lot of solutions tailored to sales or customer support or that kind of stuff, or even invoicing, digital invoicing and all that kind of stuff. Maybe a invoicing platform for SaaS companies, Mexican SaaS companies.
Exactly. I think we saw that more in the last few months during COVID, right? I think even now it's even more important. I think there's more opportunities where, there's a lot of companies who were just scrambling, right? They were working on spreadsheets and they had zero idea how to even, set up a CRM, how to, pay somebody remotely without giving them a check or paying them in cash. So there's, I think even now more than ever, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. And focused on the market, like for different markets is different laws of invoicing and all that kind of stuff, or maybe different APIs that create invoices for Mexican businesses or for Colombia or for Brazil, right?
Exactly.
And the majority of the SaaS companies are from the US, and the Latin people need to adapt to that software, and they don't develop to those regions, right?
Exactly. So there's a space. I mean, you see that a lot, right? A lot of people are copying the US products, building them here, translating them in Spanish, adjusting it to the local market, charging in the local currency. And I think there's a valid to do that as well.
Yes, and you were talking about developers and like you are in Guadalajara, Mexico right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What made you look into Mexico or Guadalajara?
Yeah, so I actually been down to Guadalajara about 2 years ago. So when I mentioned I was working with that private equity firm, Wired Investors at the time, I just happened to be here. I was working with one of the companies here that we acquired. But I just like the city, so I decided to come back. I lived in different areas. I think it's a great city to live in. I think Mexico has lots of opportunity. We're looking at some deals here. I actually have a friend, Navid. He used to own a company called Placeit. He's an American and he built it really well, and it's been recently acquired.
Este podcast está patrocinado por De Cero a MVP. Gracias por escuchar mi podcast. Hoy puedes aprender a cómo vender por internet tu producto, servicio, app o curso en línea. Deja que tus clientes voten con su cartera y prevende antes de crear tu negocio. Te mostraré cómo crear tu sitio web sin saber programar para prevender tu idea de negocios fácilmente y recibir ventas por internet. Valida tu idea de negocios sin perder tiempo y dinero. Entra en cursos.softwarecomoservicio.com para registrarte en el curso en línea hoy.
By Envato, and I think he's doing a little bit of traveling right now, but also it's also in the middle, right? So we have a company in Brazil. We do deals in North America. I think this is kind of in the middle ground of easy access to North America. You're still in the same kind of time zone where we do a lot of the business, and it's a quick flight. So to whether we have to go down to Brazil or the US or Canada, it's really accessible and easy for us.
Yeah, I want to touch 2 points. Like, I remember Envato, and I forgot the name of the founder.
Navid, yeah.
Navid, and he started with a blog, Freelance Switch. I have been very long time in the internet. So he started that, like Freelance Switch, talking about tips about freelancers, and then he built Envato, and Envato is the largest marketplaces of selling WordPress themes or video, stock footage, and many marketplaces. So he's now in Guadalajara, right? Like with 500 employees and developers and all that. And I think the other point is talking about developers. Like, how much do you pay like for salaries? Do you have developers here?
We don't. So we don't hire any developers here, but I do know a couple of other founders here who build teams. So if you're looking, in terms of salaries, I hear anywhere between like entry level, I think 25 to 30,000 pesos, all the way up to 40 or 50,000 pesos is what I hear is what they pay. So I think it's above average, right? For
like $2,000 per month. Well, 1,000, 2,000.
Exactly.
And in the US it's like $8,000 per month or something like that.
Yeah, if you go to the Valley, if you're super experienced, you're looking at 250, 300K a year or more, right? So that's 20, 30,000 a month. So yeah, it can get expensive really quickly.
Yeah. So the message is come to to Mexico.
It has its issues as well. I mean, but I think there's if you know how to work it properly and you have the right connections, I think check out like Hackers Garage. Get involved with them, learn from the local startup Guadalajara. They just built a big building as well. I think Wiseline, the founder there, is really investing in the city. So I think there's some cool networks and people you can meet if you want to use Guadalajara as a base as well.
Yeah, they have the digital city. It's the translation, and it's like a hub of startups. I think you know it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's jump into this question. How do you set up the teams that manage the Software Como Servicio or the SaaS companies that you acquire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a pretty specific criteria on what we look for in an acquisition. We look for SaaS companies with, we buy at least 51% of the company, so we're actually acquiring the majority stake. We don't do minority VC investments. The minimum size we look at in terms of revenue is at least $500K in ARR, so $500,000 per year. Been around for at least 3 years. The product, has a great product, and they've already kind of established product market fit. And if we see, we come in, we look at the business, is there a clear growth opportunity? Because a lot of the founders are really focused on product. They've built a really good product, but they don't really do much on the growth and marketing. So that's where we come in. We apply our sales, our growth marketing playbook, and we really want to accelerate the growth side of it. And in terms of the team itself, we normally keep the team as it is on the initial stages. So during due diligence, we get to know the team. We try to understand what their experience, what value do they bring to the company. But we do replace the founder. So the founder generally is moving on, and they move on to, they take their payment and they move on to another project or whatever. But we keep the team. Sometimes, after the transition, some of the employees maybe not want to stay, or we just find it's not a good fit for us. If we already have a team of designers, or for example, that we don't need to pay for another designer, so we might have to let them go and use our designer. But typically we keep the team, and then we just try to build upon it with our own team that comes in and helps grow it.
And why change the designer? You already have like a structure of UI or things that you want to do?
Yeah, so we already have a team of experts who have already proven themselves. We already know they can deliver how we want to kind of execute. So we have a playbook of like, okay, we need to do conversion rate optimization. So we already have the team that we're working with that knows what we're looking for, what we're trying to achieve, versus trying to explain somebody, teach them. And if the thinking is a lot of this, like for example, the founder, people ask, why don't you keep the founder? We've done that sometimes in the past, but typically, if the founder knew how to grow it and accelerate the growth, he would have already done it by now. So that he's not going to bring kind of the value that we think we can bring to help grow it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a question. Are you a marketer, or what is your special ability, your magic powers?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm an engineer, but I think there's always two sides of an engineer, or even in a startup. You have the product, the CTO, who's very wants to just like live in the lab and build the product and just want to perfect everything. I'm not that guy. So I'm more of the other side, which is like the business development, marketing. I really focus on the growth and revenue. So I would say that's my expertise. I like to find something that's really well built, that I really believe in the product, and then be able to get it out to as many people as possible, and then manage the business efficiently.
Do you use your podcast to do something like that, push your portfolio companies or your portfolio SaaSes?
So we haven't yet. You mean in terms of like doing ads and sponsorships? Yeah, no, we haven't done anything there. We just actually started doing a few sponsors, I think starting next week, but this is more of as a way. We partnered with LD from Balsamic, and we're helping entrepreneurs. So actually, if you're an entrepreneur looking to get a free spot on our podcast, we're giving away 7 free spots to entrepreneurs just as a way to give back and get some free kind of visibility. So you guys can check that out. I think it's balsamic.com/go/SaaS-district. So if you want to put in the show notes, people can apply there as well.
Yeah, I will put it down here.
Yeah. Sure.
So the next question is interesting to me because, well, I just resonate with the concept. What do you think is better for an entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur, or whoever starting or buying an online business? Well, especially a SaaS.
So I think it really depends on your personality. Do you see yourself as like a builder and a creator and innovator that just has to build something? Like I mentioned, like do you get the joy of starting from scratch, or are you more of like a manager operator who wants to work with the team, wants to take what's already a product there and build upon it? I look at it like building a house. Are you an architect or a developer, or are you the one who's a builder operator and managing different real estate all over and leveraging deals and whatnot? But from a financial perspective, I think we know the stats, right? I think it's 90 or 95% of businesses fail within the first 5 years of starting, right? So when you're buying an existing business, you may spend a little bit more upfront on buying it, but you get access to more capital to help acquire it. It's already a proven business, and you're generating revenue from day one. So two things, I guess. It's your personality and also your skill set. Do you know how to manage? If there was a team of 10 people and engineers and marketers or salespeople, do you know actually how to manage them, how to push them, how to get them to grow? Because if you come in and try to, and you don't know what you're doing, you can also, take in the wrong direction as well. So I guess it depends. If you're just starting off, maybe, play around, get some experience. And then at some point, if you have some capital or if you have the experience, I personally, I'm a big believer of pushing people to buy companies that they feel confident that they can grow.
Yeah, also, and in the US, it's much easier to buy a company with 100K, they can lend you like 90% of the loan, and you pay it with the money that is coming from the business. I don't think that's possible in Mexico, but if you have something saved, you can buy a $500,000 company, like what your thesis is, and start looking for companies. That's the problem, or the main goal is the deal flow, right?
Exactly. Yeah, deal flow is always an issue. I think, if you have, the thing is, even in Canada, we have something called the BDC loan. In the US, you're referring to the SBA loan. Yes. At the end of the day, it's not that easy. They don't just come with the 10% and they'll give it to you. What is a bank looking for? Just like as an investor, they're looking for a really good company that's actually going to be able to service the debt and pay back the loan. And then number two, they're going to look at your profile. Do you know what you're doing? What's your background? What's your experience? Do you actually know how to manage? And do you have experience working with this? So, I imagine, in Canada, there's 25%. In the US, it's probably 10. I imagine there's probably something similar in Mexico. I don't know about SaaS specific, but, if you wanted to buy a business, I'm sure there is financing to acquire a business. And maybe that's something people can look at, right? Maybe they want to buy, a local business that's already been around for a while. It's profitable and has track record. If it's been around for 3 to 5 years, and you go to a bank and say, hey, I've managed a company like this before. I've been a manager, and you have a bit of cash. I don't see why they would say no.
Yeah, I saw like 2 years ago, like a box, not related to SaaS, but a box company that was selling for 400K. And I envisioned like something like creating boxes for e-commerce and like doing software for Shopify or some kind of integration, because there's cash flow already in the box company. That was the example.
Exactly.
That could be a cool flip or something for 10 years. Well, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. Did you end up taking that to the bank and seeing if they'd finance it or no?
No, just like a exercise of looking, applying the same in the US like in Mexico, but I think the banks don't help you like the SBA loans or something. I think it could be like more like private capital, like bringing more investors into the equation.
And there's actually a lot of investors here. I know there's a lot of family offices that are pretty big here. I know even in Guadalajara and all over Mexico. So I mean, if you bring to them a stable business and you can show what you're doing, I'm assuming they might be interested to invest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So where can we follow you in your social media to know more about your podcast and your what you are doing and
Yeah.
your appearance in Latka podcast?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so you can check out our podcast is SaaS District, so just SaaS and then District. And in terms of following me, you can check me out on Twitter, so just at Akeel Jabber, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn and just please send a message, include a note of where you heard about me, and you can connect through LinkedIn. But Horizen Capital is our business with a EN Horizen. And if you're looking to sell your company, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to look at it.
Excellent. And what will be the last words to entrepreneurs that want to start a SaaS company for the Latin American marketing or in general start a SaaS business?
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about starting it, I think now is the time. Don't wait too long. I think there's tons of opportunity. Look around, look at problems, talk to your friends, colleagues, co-founder, co-workers, and see what problems they're facing. From the digital age that we are right now, I think there's a lot of new solutions that can be brought to the table. Get involved with different networking groups in the SaaS space or the startup scene, and see maybe you can form some kind of partnerships and launch. But I would say, this is the time. I would definitely go out there, and there's lots of opportunities to have.
Perfect. So thank you for being in the podcast of Software Como Servicio and see you later in another episode.
Thank you, Jorge. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Gracias por escuchar Software Como Servicio. Visítanos en innovapixel.com. Nos vemos en el siguiente podcast.